You know, I started doing these unboxing videos because I wanted to share the experience of getting all of these figures with someone else, and it was a great idea, but what I didn't think about is how these big boxes would just be sitting in the corner of my room, just basically being a second nightstand for weeks at a time. If you've seen my last couple videos, you might know that this box came in at the same time as another big box, so it's just been not a lot of space to move around in here, but you know, I had to bundle them figures together. I got a sweet deal on a bunch of figures in here. Today I'll be opening the majority of the figures in this box and showing them to you guys. It's kind of got a theme going on, but without further ado, let's get into it. Which side is the top, though, is the question. Before I get started, I should mention that all of the figures that I'm opening today are going to be pre-owned. They are older figures. Most of them came out either 10 years ago or like 7 years ago. So it's hard to find, you know, good prices on completely new ones, but hopefully they look okay. I'm pretty confident. But here's the first one. Kanbaru Suruga from Monogatari, Bake Monogatari. So if you couldn't tell from any of the hints, like the title of this video or the thumbnail, I am going to be opening all Monogatari figures today. If you haven't watched me before, I have mentioned, I think before in my videos, that Monogatari is maybe like probably in my top 3. I don't want to say number 1 or number 2 or number 3, but it's definitely my top 3 favorite series of all times. And these Good Smile Company line of figures came out in like 2011, some of them a little later. But I just love them all. They all have great bases, and I just love all the characters from Monogatari. And this video will feature me almost completing my collection of pretty much like all of the main characters from Monogatari. So I'm really excited, and Kanbaru will be the first one. These are all going to be 1/8 scale figures, just like my Nariko up there. These are all from the same line. Nariko was released in 2011, this Good Smile Company line, and these are all part of that line as well. The box is in pretty great condition for such an old figure. It's nothing too crazy. It's a pretty basic box. I do like the sides. It's got a drawing of a basketball hoop and kind of that Monogatari style, with a bunch of basketballs bouncing around. If you don't know Kanbaru, she is an amazing basketball player. That's kind of one of her main things, is she's like the really athletic one in the group. So that explains that. Alright, I've successfully gotten all of the parts for this figure out of the blister, and with no injuries at that, so very good news. So the most prominent accessories on this figure are the stacks and stacks and stacks of boy love novels, the yaoi novels that Kanbaru loves. In her first arc in the show, Araragi goes to her house and he sees her room, and it's literally just littered with yaoi novels. Literally, you can't see the floor. It's just boy love novels, and so of course her figure is gonna have a bunch of those with her. Looks like there is still instructions in here, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's not too difficult of a thing to figure out. So give me a sec and I'll show you what she looks like all put together. Well, pat me on the back because I did it again. I successfully assembled an anime figure. So as I'm getting more and more figures, I'm starting to realize that what I love most is unique poses and bases that kind of have Easter eggs to their source material. And this figure itself is just a testament to Kanbaru's character. She's literally on a throne of yaoi novels, which is just perfect. She's kind of like the hentai, like ecchi, you know, kind of pervy character, at least in the beginning, and this figure really shows that. She was also on the track team with Senjo Gahara, and of course she picked up basketball. You gotta watch the series for the whole story on that, but she's got the basketball to reflect that, and she's wearing her infamous bike shorts that she's always wearing, kind of like the tomboyish type shorts under her skirt. One of my favorite details on the figure itself is her hand. The way it's curling around the book, and you can see her fingernails on there. It's just a really well sculpted hand. I also really love that if you look at the books themselves, they all have bookmarks in them, which I just really love the idea of, like, she's going through these yaoi books and bookmarking her favorite parts in all of them. Just the idea of that is kind of funny to me. So yeah, guys, there is Kanbaru, the first of my Monogatari openings today. And Kanbaru, I really can't say my favorite characters because they switch so much. They all have such good arcs. Senjo Gahara is probably my favorite, but Kanbaru is definitely up there. So there she is. That is my figure of her. Alright, we got a little bigger box this time. I think the accessories and the base is going to be a lot bigger. I'm realizing that all of these are going to have a pretty big base, and I'm looking at my Detolf back there like, gonna be able to fit all this stuff? This here is Keren Araragi, the sister of the main character from Nisei Monogatari, not from Bake Monogatari. Both of the Fire Sisters didn't get their arcs until the, I guess it's not second season, but yeah, the second season of Monogatari, Nisei Monogatari, which means this is actually from 2013, as opposed to when Kambaru and Nariko came out. Those came out in 2011. This came out in 2013, so this is, a little more shiny and new. Once again, this is a 1/8 scale figure from Good Smile Company. You can tell that they upgraded the box styles a little bit from 2011 to 2013. On the side is my favorite part. It's got the big original drawing that this is from of Keren. She's kind of posed next to a steamroller. Then there's a bunch of bees flying through the sky, which is very true to her arc, or her first arc in the series. But anyways, the figure looks great. The base is of course the biggest part of it, which is a downside and a plus side in itself. On one hand, it's very detailed and very cool looking, but on the other hand, it's going to be very hard to fit it in a shelf with a bunch of other figures. But it is a very unique base in itself. I think that it refers to a couple scenes where Keren is kind of doing gymnastics around a construction site. She's kind of like Kambaru, where she's very athletic, although Keren is more into like martial arts than traditional sports, but she's very athletic, and there's a scene where she's kind of hopping around a bunch of construction sites, and I think this is what that refers to. The steamroller is really just a couple different colors, but it does have a lot of shading. One of my favorite parts about it is there's kind of like little paint marks where there would be kind of damage to the roller itself. It kind of adds some depth to the base. And it matches Keren's outfit perfectly. She's wearing her signature outfit from her first arc, kind of like the sweatsuit. And her hair is blowing in the wind, which makes it for a really cool action pose. And then of course she's got her signature Fire Sister hairpin too. One little Easter egg that I wish they would have put on this figure is a toothbrush somewhere. If you've seen the series before, there's kind of an infamous scene from, I think it's her first arc, where her and Araragi, the main character, have an interaction that has to do with a toothbrush, and I think that would have been a really funny Easter egg to put on there. But nonetheless, I love this figure. I think it's great. Onward to the next one, which I think is going to be probably the biggest box that I open today. Here is the second of the Fire Sisters, Araragi Sukihi. Once again, a 1/8 scale figure from Good Smile Company, from Nisei Monogatari. So this is another one like Keren, like her sister, where she was released in 2013 when that series came out. So she's kind of a little more new than the rest of the Good Smile series. The box is very similar to Keren's. It's got a couple windows, and then on the side, another really nice touch. It's got the original illustration that this figure is based on, which I love when they put original illustrations of what the figure is based on the box. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, my heart broke a little bit while I was putting this figure together, because I realized that part of the base is broken and it's just got a piece of tape wrapped around it, which is not something that the seller mentioned. So I got a little upset about that. But I'm over it now. She still looks great, even with the tape. Sukihi by herself, though, is just my favorite part of this figure. She's just beautiful looking. I love the outfit that she's got on, the yukata or the kimono, whatever you want to call it, with the ribbon on her back. It's huge and it's flowing in the wind. It's very beautiful. Of course, she's got the hairpin as well. You can either pose her with just the hairpin in, or an Oni mask hanging around her head with the hairpin as well. But I didn't like the way that the string was resting on her head, so I just went with the pin itself. I might change it at some point. Looking closer at her yukata, on her back you can see there's kind of a painting of a phoenix on there with a bunch of feathers sprouting out and falling all around, which is really true to her character. Sukihi's arc is all about phoenixes, no spoilers, but it's just very fitting for her. So yeah, guys, there's my Sukihi. I can't decide which one of the Fire Sisters is my favorite. As far as figures go, I probably like this one better. Like I said, I really love the way that they made that yukata, and just her pose is really dynamic and cool. Alright guys, so I saved the best for last here. I say that Senju Gahara is my favorite character, but when I first started watching the series, it kind of teetered between Senju Gahara and this girl right here. This is probably going to be my favorite out of this whole haul. And that is Hanikawa Tsubasa, who is arguably one of the main characters. I think that they all get their time in the spotlight, but I think it would be safe to say that Araragi Senjogahara and Tsubasa are probably the main characters. And if you watch the show, you might be just as conflicted as me on which one is better, Hanikawa or Senjogahara. It's a very tough choice. But anyways, this is another 1/8 scale figure from Good Smile Company. This is from the original line of Bake Monogatari from 2011. So this figure is almost 10 years old, or maybe exactly 10 years old at this point. One of my favorite things about Bake Monogatari is how they integrated real-life photos into the animation. This was really prominent in the first season, and after the first season, they got rid of the original director, and they kind of try to emulate his style in the rest of the series, but it's very prominent in the first series. I think it's just a work of art. One of the best anime seasons ever made is Bake Monogatari, and I love that they included those real-life photos on Hanikawa's box here. Well, it was a pretty easy assembly, and I like that. Here she is, Hanikawa Tsubasa. So the scene that this figure is based on is just really iconic in the series. So Hanikawa is kind of possessed by a cat. If you've watched the series, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you're just going to have to go back and watch it. But this is kind of from a scene where Araragi goes to their classroom. They're both in the same class, and he's kind of sitting at her desk, and he puts his head down, and he's kind of sniffing her desk, trying to get her scent. It's kind of a weird scene, and it's just kind of uncomfortable, but then she shows up in cat form, and this is kind of what that is based on. There's sort of two forms of Tsubasa. There's the black Hanikawa and the white Hanikawa, and this is kind of a mix between the two, like her original self and her spirit self. And there is quite a few black Hanikawa figures, but I think I'll probably just stick with this one for now. I love how her hair is flowing in the wind. One of my favorite little details that I hadn't noticed before is how there's a little like cat pin on one of the ribbons that's on the end of her hair. Just a really finite, small detail that they didn't need to include, but just makes it a little more cool. The wind is also blowing her skirt up a little bit, but she's kind of blocking it from coming up. So sorry boys, no action shot here. I really love the phone that she's holding too. Once again, this is kind of a callback to the series in that she's texting Araragi quite a bit. And I like the little cat on it. It's just a really detailed little phone. It's of course old school because Bake Monogatari was written in like the mid 2000s, so this is before, you know, smartphones and everything, but still very detailed for what they would have looked like back then. She doesn't come with an actual base. She just kind of sits on the accessories, and the accessories can kind of be displayed around her however you want them to be, which is kind of a bummer because I was planning to have her on a riser above some other characters, kind of in the back so you can see her better. But I am going to have to revise that plan, and we'll see what I come up with. But just kind of a bummer, but it's still a great looking figure. So this was a pretty exciting haul for me. Monogatari is probably in my top 3 series of all time, so I was really ecstatic to get most of my collection complete here. Now I have Hitagi Senjogahara, I have Tsubasa, I have Keren, I have Sukihi, Kambaru, I got Nariko back there, and Shinobu. The one that I'm missing from the like original set of girls is Hachikuji, and she does have one from the Good Smile line, but it's not too expensive and it's not really on my priority list right now. I think I can find a good deal no matter when I get it, so I'll probably get that at some point, but for now I pretty much have all of the girls, and that's awesome. There is a Good Smile Company version of Senjogahara that was released with these two, where she's doing that iconic pose from like the cover of the original Bake Monogatari, where she's got her skirt up and all of the, you know, the staplers and the scissors are falling down, all of the stationary stuff. And I'd really like that one day, but that one is really expensive. I think the cheapest you can find it for is like $300, but I think I have another one that I might pick up in the near future. So look out for that. I might do a video about it. For now though, I'm gonna clean all this up, get my shelves set up, and just look at these girls for a while. I'm really excited to see them all together, and hopefully I'll have that at the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you want to see more figure videos and just anime videos in general, subscribe to my channel. I got more of those coming. And yeah, just appreciate you guys watching. This has been Max, and I'll see ya in the next one.